Welcome to the hub, everybody. Little Haiti, how you feeling? All right, we got some happy people in here. I want to thank Nidal and thank the team from Glutonomy, from Lengua for putting together this really cool, amazing cross-section of culinary celebration in Miami, which is something that we can all be very proud of and we should be proud of. So this is the type of event that we love to host here at the Future of Cities Climate Innovation Hub, right in the heart of Little Haiti. And I don't know how many people are you familiar with Little Haiti or spend time here? Raise your hand. Okay, so we got some locals in the house who'd like to see that. So I bought this building almost 20 years ago. Can you imagine what Little Haiti looked like 20 years ago? There wasn't very much here happening, except the people were here. The culture was here. You had people selling sugarcane. You had the botanicas on the street. And you still have some of that. You still have the colors on the building. And so one thing I learned very early on in my life, and actually this was in Argentina where I started my hospitality career in 1998 when the dollar and the peso were 1-to-1. I started working at this place as a host called Bar Danzon, which was like the hotspot resto lounge in downtown Buenos Aires. And really that was where the who's who of Argentina came to play, to see, to be seen. And I was exposed to really the culture that happens within the culinary and hospitality scene. And that really kind of, at 19 years of age, really kind of opened my eyes to seeing how culinary and food brings people together. It's at the core of everything. And it really kind of started even way before that in how I grew up. And so I was born and raised in a commune, in an interfaith community started by my grandmother back in the 70s in Central Florida. And in this commune, we would all come together and eat every night, 150 of us together in more of like a communal style, very vegetarian, vegan at one point, and then vegetarian as we fluctuated. But really those were where the bonds and where the community was really built, was through communing and breaking bread together. That was where everything happened. And it created bonds that, still last today, 45 years later. And so from an early age of getting involved in hospitality and seeing kind of the scene evolve in Miami, I was involved in the South Beach scene in the 90s when I came back from Argentina. My first job that I worked in was Tantra, which probably predates a lot of you all here, but it was the place that had the grass on the floor. Does anybody remember that? Okay, there's a few of you here. It was 1998, and this was the place where it was underground. A lot of the celebrities would go there, but also a lot of the locals would come there. There was a net and a hookah bar, and Michelle Bernstein was actually the executive chef way back then. That was her first gig. And we had everybody from Al Pacino to LL Cool J coming in, all the local who's who. Chris Picello would come in with Madonna and other people. And it really started to just show me how this community was building. And it was really based around the local community. And of course, back then, the scene was so vibrant that, the best days of the week were Monday and Tuesday, of course. That was industry night. That was when the best parties were happening. That was when the best people were out. And what was interesting about South Beach then, this was pre-Instagram, this was social media and paying celebrities to go out, and everybody who was part of that knew that they were part of something special. They were part of a community, and really the community was built around hospitality, it was built around experience, it was built around community, and from that time on, that was a really special time in the late 90s in South Beach. And I went on from there to Groovejet and then to Crowbar ultimately, where South Beach really kind of catapulted into the global stage. And I kind of started to see it get commercialized, and I started to see the nightlife scene change. And what happened was I was introduced to a Hungarian artist that's not far from here, in little Haiti, named Esther Giori, who was a widow from South Beach who had a penthouse at Portofino Tower, and then sold it, bought a warehouse, moved into the warehouse, started dating a Jamaican sculptor, and started throwing these crazy wild parties in her warehouse. And at that point, I was introduced to the creative class and what was happening in the urban core, downtown, Wynwood, Midtown, Design District before it was the luxury design district that it is today, and this neighborhood where all the artists and the creatives and the up-and-coming restaurateurs were. 190. Does anybody remember 190 on 47th Street? That was one of the coolest underground restaurant space that happened in the design district. I remember when Mandolin opened up and there were just eight chairs there. There were just a few tables. And so what I started to quickly learn is how restaurants become the community center, how News Cafe, where Versace would go every day to read his New York Times and meet with different fashion editors and people, and it really was the place where community came together. I started to learn early on how hospitality, culinary, bringing people together can transform a district. And that's what happened in South Beach in the 90s. It was really transformational. It was a place that everybody would say you would go to die. And then all of a sudden you started having all this incredible underground music and culture and food and beverage. And that was what really started to transform South Beach back in the 90s and the early 2000s. And the same thing happened in Wynwood with Zach the Baker and Panther Coffee and Joey's. And what we did originally, we bought Zach the Baker to Goldman Properties. And Zach was a Hasidic, artisan baker in Hialeah in a warehouse who didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. And we convinced the Goldman Properties to give him a percentage rent and to help build out his space because he wasn't able to afford to build out these spaces. But look what Zach did for Wynwood. Look at how, his genius and his artisanry really transformed an entire district. And the landlord made out like a bandit because the percentage rent ended up being 10x of what the rent was back in Wynwood at that time. And so I started to learn early on, I started to see with the success of Wynwood and the success of Design District in Midtown, how all of these local tastemakers, culinary artists, were really helping to create and shape neighborhoods. And as soon as those neighborhoods started to gentrify and become successful, the private equity groups came out, and the local tastemakers ended up getting displaced and pushed out. And so our friends from Plant the Future, for example, when they had to leave 2nd Avenue in Wynwood, we helped them find a location here in Little River, Little Haiti, to buy a property so that they could become a permanent part of the fabric of the community. And so over the years, I've witnessed, the rapid transformation of all of these neighborhoods, and it all starts with food and beverage, meatpacking, Lotus, if anybody's familiar with that nightclub, or Pastis, these restaurants that become the community centers and the hub where transformation happens. And oftentimes they don't get to last because they don't own the real estate. And so I think from my perspective as Future of Cities and as a developer and as a regenerative placemaker, what we're really trying to do is how can we support the butcher, the baker, the barber, the independent, the artisan brands? How can we help make them have longevity? How can we support them? Because if we cultivate and we incubate local concepts that keep the money circularly in those neighborhoods, then that's where you create economic development. That's where you can help, underserved communities rise, and that's where you can keep the flavor of that city alive. And I think Miami is at an inflection point because it's very expensive, right? It's the affordability issue has become a major issue. And I've started doing work in Jacksonville, which is much more affordable. And we're developing a district there called the Phoenix Arts and Innovation District, which will also be a culinary district where we can incubate different tenants, food and beverage tenants, in kiosks, in food trucks, in containers, help build commissary kitchens, because we feel that that food is medicine. Food is everything. And really, if we can create a local, organic, artisanal ecosystem, we can start really revitalizing these neighborhoods and turn food deserts into food forests, which is really what we're focused on in Jacksonville and here as well in Miami. So the point I want to make is that there's nothing more important than having local people, local concepts, that local flavor, and to be able to identify with the vibe of a city. And I think Miami's magic, if you will, is really in the diversity of cultures. You know, that Pan-American, Pan-Latino, Caribbean, international flavor that we have. It creates a lot of innovation around all the stuff that we're doing. And I think that's what brings us all together for these types of events, is really seeing innovation in every way and really driving, that innovation within the culinary space. And it's really important for developers and city officials and policymakers to support the small businesses by making their permitting easy or accelerating them or supporting them. And a lot of what we do is take old buildings like this one and adaptively repurpose it. And we just met with City of Miami's Office of Sustainability and Resilience and we said to them, we need to support these small businesses because they're the lifeblood and soul of these neighborhoods. So it's been an incredible journey, 23 years of shaping and creating neighborhoods. And what I can say is most rewarding is seeing these businesses like Zach the Baker and Panther Coffee, export their brand from these neighborhoods. Wynwood became a brand, just like Brooklyn became a brand, just like South Beach became a brand. But how do we preserve the golden goose? How do we preserve that innovation and creativity and that entrepreneurship of these small businesses? That's what we don't want Miami to become Las Vegas. I don't think anybody wants Miami to become Las Vegas. I certainly don't. And, I've been in Little Haiti, like I said, for almost 20 years. And the magic of Little Haiti is the grit and the individual entrepreneur and the new ideas that are coming out of that individual entrepreneurship that we see here in these neighborhoods. So, it's a pleasure to be here. I don't know how much time I have left. I think I have 3 minutes left, but I'm really proud of the work that's being done here at the Hub, and I'm really proud of kind of the evolution, but also I'm also proud to admit that there's mistakes that have been made along the way in terms of how these neighborhoods have developed. And I think that there's ways to do things better. And I think that in order to create thriving, interesting, creative districts, I think it requires cross-sector collaboration at an unprecedented scale, meaning it requires the landlord, and it requires the tenant, it requires the city, it requires people to collaborate and work together. And it's not all about dollars and cents, because there's also a return on community that's extremely important. And then there's the environment. There's the aspect of what we're doing to make cities more livable. And there's a concept that is emerging from Paris called the 15-minute city. If you're not familiar with it, but it's something that we strongly believe in, where you should be able to walk or bike to within 15 minutes of everything that you need within your life, whether it's a supermarket, a grocer, a dentist, a school, all of your bakery, your butcher, your barber, all of the things that you would need. That's what should be how we should be designing our communities. And you may not know this, but 2 blocks from here, there's going to be a commuter stop on the Brightline tracks that's going to be operated by Tri-Rail through the Magic City Innovation District, which I was one of the founders of. You have Zeze right here, which is also, one of our strategic partners and friends, and we helped find them a location there. And we're also in the process of, in the 2 buildings next door that we own, bringing in a food and beverage, a kick-ass, epic food and beverage concept here with a commissary kitchen. We have a community garden over there as well from Little River Cooperative, and it's about engaging with the community. So at the end of the day, food is medicine, community is medicine, nature is medicine. And at our mission here at Future of Cities, how do we combine all of those and celebrate you all? How do we celebrate those leaders in those spaces, give them an opportunity, maybe give them lower rent, maybe give them percentage rent, maybe help them get incentives, support them, help them buy their own building so they don't get pushed out when the neighborhood becomes so valuable because they helped create it by bringing all the exposure and all the marketing. How do we do that together? And that's something that I'm really passionate about and something that I want to see. So I really, I thank you guys for bringing this conference here, for exposing all these great, amazing culinary luminaries who are really, they're the stars. They're the ones that are bringing people together and showing their craft. And it is artistry. And it's real magic that they're creating every day, that they go and try to run a business, create incredible experiences, deliver amazing food. And they're placemakers. They're the placemakers that are shaping these communities. And we should be supporting them, not only by going there and supporting their businesses, but also helping them, go to the next level so that they can be sustainable. So it's an honor to be here. Thanks for having me.